Thank you, Tali and the team, for the opportunity, and thank you, each and every one of you, for coming today. I'm going to try my best to do justice to my practice in 10 minutes. I'm going to start off with myself, Nida Bangash. I was born in Iran and raised in both Pakistan and Iran. That being the base, I always longed to belong. I was always looking for a home. And wanted to call a country my own. So in my practice, I started looking at territories and domains and homes and houses for a very long time, till I sort of contemplated on the fact that, and I would make these square houses with triangular roofs, with two little windows and chimneys, and I soon realized I was not born in one of those houses. I'd never lived in one of those houses. But those houses became part of my vocabulary, became part of everybody else's child that I knew around me till date. We make houses like that. That's the image of a perfect house for us. A house with a triangular roof. We don't live in those houses. We have never seen the houses. The first time I actually saw that kind of house was 6 years ago when I moved here, 7 years ago. But so that's when I sort of started looking at what Arundhati Roy says, what happens when the imagination is bombarded before even it starts imagining. And that sort of led to this whole idea of, okay, I've read history, but do I know history? I have read art history, I have understood art the way it's supposed to be understood, but have I really? So I really started questioning layers of what have I read, what have I been exposed to, how was I read, and it sort of started to open up and peel up. So the houses, the roof and the chat series that you see, chat being a literal translation of a roof, are these triangular roofs that I've painted. And I'm trained as a miniature painter from the National College of Art, Lahore. But my practice sort of stems out of painting and miniature painting, and that being the core of it. It is very interdisciplinary. I mean, you can see a stillness and a flatness in my video works and my performance works and my paintings. And that is sort of the string that ties it all up together. So back to the roof series, I used chat. Roof is supposed to be the most stable part of your home, that protects you, that shelters you, that's supposed to be stable. I painted it with a traditional European technique called silver point, where I used two white pigments, titanium and zinc, on which I drew with silver and copper line. So these white roofs that you're seeing are constantly tarnishing. You'll see it a month later, it will look different. You'll see it a year later, it'll look different. So it's temporary. It is not a roof that shelters or supports or is permanent or you can count on. It's not an idea. That home, that image, the stable roof is not an idea that has, for me, been permanent. It is constantly shifting. So coming from that, moving into this room, the bridge called My Back is a video installation, 5-channel video installation that of course, looking at the house, being a mother of 2 daughters, being a wife, being a practicing artist who 10 years later, after being an assistant professor at the National College of Art, Lahore, found myself doing another master's, proving myself to the world again, was hard. And I felt like there's a lot of weight of studies, of work, in a good way, all in a good way, but I felt like there is a weight in these houses, there's a weight in these homes, there's a weight in these structures, and I felt like I'm lifting them. So I used a daybed as a structure that women of all over the world carry on their shoulders. And while the man on the top is also balancing, trying to balance, it's using its energy, but he has the option to get up and leave. Well, I don't. While he's there, I can't get up and leave. So using architecture as a structure that my body is holding, that is an invisible weight, invisible structure that I'm holding on my shoulders, so that it sort of breaks out of the realm of a personal to more political, or it encompasses both personal and political spaces. And from there, these were called site plan. It's a very architectural term, and I use architectural terms a lot because I'm fascinated by the tomb of Anarkali. The tomb of Anarkali is a beautiful tomb made by the Mughals in Lahore. It's ironic. Why it was made was ironic. It was made for Anarkali, who was killed because she was a courtesan and she dared to go out or have an affair with the prince. So the prince was fine, and the king ordered to kill her, and of course that happened. But then when the king became the prince, Shah Jahan, he made a beautiful tomb for her, and that tomb stood there beautifully, quietly, till the British came, and it's presumed that it was ornamented, and it was a structure that was very dense. The British came during the colonial rule, and they whitewashed it and turned it into a church, and then again it was years later it was whitewashed and turned into a clerical office, and we continue to whitewash it today. So that labor of keeping that whiteness intact, that whitewash intact, is through my body now. I have been trained to, at least in my part of the world, to believe that this whiteness cream is going to make my life better, or speaking a certain language is going to make me look more important. So being from a certain institution will make my back stronger. So I am now carrying the labor and carrying the weight of that. Now, it's a system, it's a machine that we all believe in. It's a myth that we all believe in now, and we hold that in our bodies. So hence, I'm lifting a table on which teacups, cups, imperial white china teacups, to be precise, are being stacked. And so it's interesting, this was part of a performance. Before this, I did a performance where in an opening of a gallery, I served tea in 73 white teacups, 73 being 73 years of Pakistan-India independence and the British sort of moving out of the subcontinent. And I served tea to my audience here in the US, and then after it was consumed, I took out a bucket and I washed them. And I washed them and then put them back in order and exactly where they belonged. So tea, serving tea, labor, and then lifting it on a structure, it continually destroying itself, but it continually building itself as well. And me being part of the system who's doing it sort of became this site plan, which is site as in SIGHT. It's architectural, but it's visual as well. So it kind of culminated in this video where you enter and you see this table that's being stacked by dirty teacups, and then you turn around and that's where you see that the body that was invisibilized, my body that was invisibilized, you see it on the other side. And that's when you realize, okay, now the dirty teacups are invisibilized. So it gives you limited information, and you kind of have to circumambulate around it to really get, and at no point in time do you see the full picture. So this is it. Thank you so much for coming and looking at the work.
Okay.